Hello and welcome to the video. This is the introduction to a new mini-series that I'm going to be creating over the coming weeks and potentially couple of months. Now, for those of you that have been watching the channel for a long time, you will know that I am a lapsed FrSky pilot. Although I still use my Tyrannus that was manufactured back in 2015, I think it was, on a pretty much a daily basis. I loved AWCST version 1, big D16 pilot, put X8R receivers in my wings, XSR receivers in my quads, like an awful lot of us did. However, I kind of lost the plot a little bit and didn't keep up with what FrSky were doing, and I think many of us are in that boat. But there are a few reasons why I have bit the bullet and got this X18s in to make a little mini-series. First is that I've had a couple of messages from people when I've been talking about things like EdgeTX, talking about the fact that there's already a fantastic, easy-to-use operating system for a radio, and it's called ETHOS. Why is nobody doing any videos on it? Okay, that's kind of a good point, and I've had several of those messages recently. Then I had a couple of comments, including one from a Patreon, who had been struggling with Open and EdgeTX. I've been trying to help them out with some quite sophisticated things like setups for fixed wing, and unfortunately they just couldn't get to grips with it. And you know what? OpenTX and EdgeTX isn't for everybody. Some people just find it incredibly overwhelming. I love it, and it makes a lot of sense to my quite logical engineer's brain. But if you don't work that same way, OpenTX can be overwhelming. But this Patreon of mine got in touch and said that he'd got one of these radios with ETHOS and had a fantastic time with it. And something that he'd been struggling with for 3 months to set up in OpenTX, he set up in 5 minutes using ETHOS. So that was my eureka moment. I thought, you know what? Okay, I've been going on about what a good interface should look like on a radio, particularly talking about things like EdgeTX. Let's actually get one in and have a look. Now this again is the new X18s. I saw in an X20 a couple of months ago up at 3DXR and was incredibly impressed by the build quality. This doesn't feel like the Tyrannus, this doesn't feel like the QX7, this feels like a very, very solid quality piece of kit. But then it should do. This radio is part of the new FrSky, not the old one that I loved. So let's, in this series, have a look at the radio and also have a look at ETHOS. And it gives me a chance to answer the questions and also kind of explore what modern FrSky looks like. This is a dual band radio. It actually can talk 2.4 and it can talk 868 and 915. They have things like dual band receivers that actually can talk both frequencies at the same time. So rather than you have to choose 2.4 or one of the lower frequencies like 868, 915 for your R9M or your Crossfire or something like that, then this has the ability to do it. It has lots and lots of switches, and I'm not going to go too much through the radio. Quick overview of some of the specs while I just kind of show you what this looks like in a little bit closer up. So this is, again, the X18s running ETHOS. It has up to 24 channels, internal battery that's charged by the USB port. It has a 480 by 320 backlit touchscreen LCD at the top. It's compatible with AWCST D16 and Access. Unfortunately, it's AWCST version 2 only. A little bit of a shame for me that has a lot of version 1 stuff still kicking about. It supports the Para wireless training system. That's a training system that I think you can use with things like that DIY head tracker that I made a while ago. Also has motion sensing control, believe it or not, in the X18s. That potentially could open lots of extra things with the ability to move the whole radio to maybe do things like pan and tilt as well as flying it if you don't have that in your goggles. It has CNC Hall sensor gimbals with 10 ball bearings. It does feel very solid, actually, the gimbals in this. Built-in 900 and 2.4 gig dual band RF module, and the 2.4 gigahertz module is AWCST and Access only. The 900M module is Access mode, and that supports Access R9 protocols, 868 and 915 megahertz receivers. Now this thing is absolutely covered in switches. It has 3-position switches on the top. We have a 2-position switch on the left hand side, momentary switch on the right. We have sliders on the shoulders. Sadly, it's not like my favourite sliders from the Taranis. It's like what everyone seems to use. 2 rotary controls for central detent. More trim buttons that you can shake a stick at. That's actually incredibly handy for things like fixed wing flying. Then you have customizable buttons at the bottom. A button here for accessing the individual parts of the ETHOS operating system if you don't use the touchscreen, and some of us don't. And then you have a jog wheel with the enter key in the lower right hand side. On the top, we have the options for 2 external aerials. We have the SD card slot. We have the smart port. We have the audio out. We have the trainer. And we also have the USB connection for charging the battery and connecting it to the ETHOS suite. On the back, there's also 2 additional little push buttons and the bay as well. Unfortunately, it's not a full-size JR bay. They've gone for the smaller version, which is a bit of a shame because all my modules are the bigger size, so I'll have to use an adapter. So is there anything particular in the series that you want me to show on this radio? I'm going to do the usual stuff, show you how to update it using ETHOS Suite, give you a tour of the menus, and I'll probably do that tour with an eye on Open and Edge TX users to kind of compare how you get to different parts and do that kind of stuff. Maybe go through some simple setups and show you how to create simple models for planes, wings, quadcopters and that kind of stuff as well. But if there's anything in particular you want to see, do let me know, because I'd like to create this series in collaboration with you, my viewers, because you are probably sat out there having exactly the kind of same thoughts that I have. If you're already a user of this and you want me to demo something, that's great. But I'd also like to hear from those of you who are like me, who are lapsed FrSky pilots. So if you have any ideas or things that you would like to see in the series, do pop them down below, and I will use this radio and the ETHOS suite to kind of hopefully answer those questions and show you how some of that stuff is done in the new FrSky ecosystem. Thank you for spending your time today watching that video. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you're trying to learn about a subject, then check out the playlist. All of my videos are organized into easy to follow playlists that if you're trying to learn a topic will take you from the basics right the way through to some pretty advanced stuff.